Hey there and welcome. Today we are diving deep, and I mean really deep, into the microscopic world that makes all life, well, possible. We're about to take a tour of the most fundamental unit of pretty much everything that lives and breathes, the amazing cell.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to start with the basics. What even is a cell? Then we'll shrink ourselves down and peek inside its incredible bustling machinery. After that, we'll put plant and animal cells side by side to see what makes them different. We'll meet some cellular specialists with really cool jobs. And then finally, we'll zoom all the way back out to see how these tiny little bricks build an entire living thing. You ready? Let's do this.
All right, first things first. Let's tackle the biggest question there is. When you get right down to it, what are we and everything else that's alive actually made of?
It kind of sounds like a riddle, right? I mean, what on earth could a person, a giant towering tree, and some little bug possibly share? They seem like they're from completely different worlds. But believe it or not, they all share one fundamental secret, a common starting point for all of their incredible complexity.
And here it is. The answer is the cell. It's the absolute smallest, most basic unit of every single living thing, from the tiniest bacterium to you and me. You can think of them like the Lego bricks of biology. You can build anything with them. Now, some living things, like an amoeba, are totally content being just one single cell their whole life. We call those unicellular. But then you've got organisms like us, or, a giant oak tree, that are multicellular. We're made of trillions of cells all working together like a perfectly organized city.
Okay, so let's zoom in a little closer. If you think of a cell as a busy, bustling factory, what are all the little machines inside that are actually doing the work? Well, it's time for us to meet the organelles.
First up, let's meet the big boss, the main office for the entire operation. This guy is the nucleus, and its job is to be the cell's command and control center, directing literally everything that happens.
And wow, the nucleus has a massive job description. It doesn't just manage the cell's daily business, it's also the high-security vault that holds all the genetic blueprints, our DNA. And on top of that, it's the one that gives the order for cell division, which is the super important process of making new cells.
Every factory needs a power source, right? And inside the cell, that's the job of the mitochondria. You've probably heard this one before. It's famously known as the powerhouse of the cell.
And this is where the real energy magic happens. The mitochondria take the food the cell absorbs and turn it into usable energy. Through a process called cellular respiration, they generate the fuel that powers absolutely everything the cell does.
Okay, next up, let's talk about the factory's security and its shipping and receiving department, all rolled into one. That's the cell membrane. It's this layer that surrounds the entire cell, acting as a very selective gatekeeper. And you can really see its two main jobs here. The membrane is what we call semi-permeable. Think of it like a bouncer at a club with a very, very specific guest list. It decides what nutrients get in and what waste products get out. And at the same time, it just holds everything together, protecting all that delicate machinery inside.
So where is all this action taking place? Well, it's happening out on the factory floor itself, which in the cell we call the cytoplasm. It's this jelly-like substance that fills up the whole cell, and all the organelles are just floating around in it. But don't think it's just empty goo. Nope. The cytoplasm is a super busy place. It's where tons of the cell's most important chemical reactions happen, and it also acts as a storage depot for materials that are waiting to be sent over to the mitochondria for energy.
All right, so now that we've met the main crew, let's check out two different types of factories. Because while they share a lot of the same departments, plant cells and animal cells are actually built from slightly different blueprints.
Let's break down the big differences. First, you'll see plant cells have this tough, rigid outer layer called a cell wall. It's like scaffolding that gives them a fixed, boxy shape. They also have chloroplasts, those are the tiny solar panels that let them do photosynthesis, and a giant central vacuole for storage. Animal cells, on the other hand, don't have any of that, which is why they have a more flexible, kind of blobby shape. But even with all those differences, just look at how much they have in common. Both have that super important nucleus, both have mitochondria making power, both have that cytoplasm factory floor, and both have a cell membrane acting as the gatekeeper. So they're clearly based on the same fundamental design. So we've got these basic cell designs, but in a complex organism like a human, not all cells just stay generic. Nope, a lot of them become highly trained specialists, changing their form to get really good at one particular job. And that's what we call specialization.
To build a complex creature, cells have to modify their size, their shape, and even what organelles they have, all to become incredibly efficient at one specific task. Let's look at a couple of awesome examples. Check out the red blood cell. Its one and only job is to carry oxygen around your body. And to be the absolute best at it, it makes this huge sacrifice. It actually gets rid of its own nucleus, just so it can pack in more of the stuff that grabs oxygen. Even its unique donut-like shape is perfectly designed to maximize the surface area for grabbing and releasing oxygen. It's a perfect case of form following function. And then in the plant world, look at a root hair cell. It grows this long, skinny extension that dramatically increases how much surface area it has. And why would it do that? To be as efficient as humanly or plantly possible at soaking up water and minerals from the soil. Just another brilliant design for a very specific job. Okay, for our last section, let's zoom all the way back out. We've seen how cells work on the inside, we've seen how they specialize. So how do all these individual units come together to build something as ridiculously complex as a plant or an animal? Well, it all builds up in this beautiful, logical pyramid. You start with those specialized cells. Then, groups of similar cells, like a bunch of muscle cells, team up to form a tissue. Different tissues then work together to create an organ, like your heart. Organs, of course, don't work alone. They form organ systems, like the circulatory system. And finally, when you put all of those systems together, working in perfect harmony, you get the complete organism. You get you. And just like that, our tour comes to an end. We've gone from a single microscopic building block all the way up to a complex, living, breathing thing. It just leaves you with one final thought to chew on. When you start with something so incredibly tiny, what does this amazing level of organization truly make possible for life?